I'm also going to, I just hit record, so we'll record this so that you'll be able to share it separately if you want to, LaVerne. We'll post it to YouTube once it gets processed through.
Oh, once you post it to YouTube, I'll just grab that link and share it through there.
Right. Well, it'll post after it's done. We'll show the live through the Facebook. All right, so let's make sure we are live here. Yes, we are going there. This is reading and chat with LaVerne Thompson. Yes. And then we are going to go live. Now, this should take us there in 3, 2, 1. I don't know if it's true, but whatever. I think we are now live on Facebook. So,
hi, if we're live. I'm not sure.
Yay,
I can't.
Hello.
I really can't tell.
That's okay. We got you. We got you. So we are now going to share this into the group so that people will be able to get the link and share to a group. We're going to share it into the Reading Challenge group so that we can post the link for people to participate.
Sounds good.
So we're sharing that now. And then let's go back over here and see if that worked. Are we live there? Are we live there? We are live there. Okay, so here is the Zoom link if you'd like to join our discussion on screen after the reading. Please join ASAP or wait until after the reading is and there's the link. Okay, LaVerne, if you'd like to share that, that is now available for you to do so.
Okay, I am sharing it now. Let's see. Sharing. I shared it there. I shared it with my page, and I shared it with my my other group.
There you go. And just in case it doesn't come through, okay, I sent you the link for the Zoom as well in our messenger chat so that.
Yes, got it. I got it.
There we go. That way, in case it didn't pop up right away, you'd still be able to get to it.
I got it. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
All right.
So everybody who's watching us do all of this live, sorry for the behind the scenes, the view into the behind the scenes of the Facebook Live. But we wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to join us for our chat after LaVerne finished doing her, hello Madison, finished doing her reading.
Hey everybody.
And Lorianne and Crystal. So we're going to give everybody a couple of minutes to hop on here, and then what we're going to do is have everybody hide their screen, their video, and mute themselves. If you have a hard time doing that, let me know. I can do it for you. And then after the reading is done, we'll pop everybody back out for our discussion, okay? Hello, hello.
Well, how are you doing tonight, LaVerne?
I'm great. Fair warning, I have a cat and he has a mind of his own, so he may walk past the screen every now and then. And I also have a dog and she loves to bark at anything. So if you hear that in the distance, it's okay. I got to give that caveat right off. I hope everyone is having a great evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world. And I hope everyone so far is having a happy new year. It's got to be better than last year. So, you know.
Oh no, did you just jinx us?
I'm going like this. Somebody said to me the other day, is it a new year? I said, God, I hope so.
Okay, so we've
Well,
got, we'll give it about 2 more minutes. It's 7:08. We'll give it about 2 more minutes, see if anybody else wants to pop in. And then for a couple of you that came in after, what we're going to do is everybody's going to shut down their video and their mic so that you're going to be not on screen for the reading part. And then after the reading, we'll have everybody pop back open again so that we can discuss. And then she's going to do, LaVerne will do a second reading for her Ursula Sinclair pen name, and then we'll do the same thing, close everybody down and then pop back open for the discussion, okay? So we'll give
Sounds
just
good.
another minute. Looks like Tina's coming in right now. Yeah, there she is. And we've got just another minute. We'll see if anybody else wants to pop in. All of you that are watching live on Facebook, if you want to, we're gonna pause in about a minute and let LaVerne do her first reading. I'll do her introduction and do her first reading. If you have not joined by that point, hang tight, listen to the reading from where you're at, and then after the reading is done, we'll give it another minute for people to join again for the discussion after the reading. So if you have not joined by about right now, just hang tight, watch the reading, enjoy the reading, and then we'll pull you in after. Okay, so I think that's it for right now. LaVerne, I am going to read your super short bio that we have posted for you on our website, because we're doing this for the Coastal Magic Convention Reading Challenge Author Spotlight. And you are playing double duty because you are LaVerne Thompson, who is USA Today bestselling award-winning multi-published author of contemporary fantasy and sci-fi sensual romances. But you are also writing romantic suspense and new adult romance under the pen name Ursula Sinclair, who is also a USA Today bestselling author. Now, are both of you certified chocoholics, or just one of you a certified chocoholic?
Well, it all goes in one place, so one.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, ladies, I'm going to, hello there. Let's have everybody go ahead and close down their video and turn on their mutes so that we just have Ursula on screen to do her reading. And then after the reading is done, we'll go ahead and have everybody pop back up. All right, so that's okay.
Ready?
I'm gonna do it for you. I'm gonna do it for you. Give me just a second.
Thank you.
No problem. Stop video. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop my video and it's gonna be all you, all right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I will see you shortly.
Okay. First of all, I just want to thank Coastal Magic for having me on, and for Dorleanne and Jennifer for hosting me tonight. Okay, so tonight I'm going to read a little bit from Angel Rising. It's part of my Redemption series. It's the first book in my Redemption series. This is my take on fallen angels. For me, fallen angels are really succubi. They become emotional succubi. So this is the basis for vampires. So I've got kind of a lot of things going on here. But anyway, I call them soulless. So I don't really use the word vampires. I do talk about them being fallen angels, but that isn't made clear until a little bit later. So for me right now, these are soulless. Oh, and it is, I call it a romantic fantasy. It can also be looked at as an urban fantasy. Prologue. Warning to those who follow. Evil does not always wear the face of the unappealing. People don't usually spend time gazing into the eyes of the homely. On the contrary, most poor souls are too busy looking away, or perhaps trying to pretend they don't notice the unsightly wart on someone's face, yet they gaze raptly into the eyes of beauty. Malevolence can and will display the face of immense loveliness, and often not just a stunning portrait, but one reserved for gods and angels alike. After all, such is a fate with which to become enraptured. Mortals are unable to look away from those eyes of deepest midnight, set in such perfectly symmetrical, beautiful features, only to be ensnared in the abyss of their own destruction. Most people don't bother to look past the facade. If, for some reason, they happen to catch a glimpse of the vast emptiness lying within the portals to what should have been a soul, they discount it, claiming it nothing more than a trick of the light. More fool day. People are experts at denial, especially with what they don't understand or fear, which is why those with hollow souls exist unknown among us. The soulless ones roam the world looking for something to fill the void inside, craving the emotions they do not have. Human blood, fueled on strong emotions, provides such nourishment. Hate and violence are the most filling and favored, but over time require vast amounts of human fodder. These emotions are the easiest to understand and manipulate on a large and more satisfying degree. It is mere child's play for those soulless creatures to manipulate brother to kill brother or friend to turn on friend, and then gorge on the resulting hatred and violence. When one is nearby, death is sure to follow. All it takes is a whisper in the right ear at the right moment. Timing is everything. Whenever there is war, destruction, fear, or strife, there is one without a soul nearby, filling the desolation with strong emotion, guaranteeing the escalation of negative destructive energies. However, as with most things under God's creation, there are gray areas and exceptions. Some soulless ones are not evil and merely wish to survive, to exist among us. Without a soul they must be, but they try to maintain a balance, taking as well as giving. While one kind kills, the other doesn't. They even bring a sense of relief, but there is no easy way to tell the difference between those that do and those that don't until it's much too late. So if you happen to catch a glimpse of anyone with black, dead, depthless eyes, it is not a trick of the light. Look away, then run. Calapia, First Chronicler. Chapter 1. The man stood in front of the building housing his uncle's dojo and halted. The odors of sweat and even a little blood filled his senses. Exhaling, his warm breath frosted white when mixed with the cold. He pushed against the closed door and it opened, the sounds of grunting inside reminding him of his own victories and defeats. It drew him beyond the empty waiting area and down the long hallway, flanked by classroom doors. The only lit room flagged the last evening class coming to an end, but he wasn't there for class. He made his way to the back of the building, to the only door without a window on it, Samuel's office. Beyond the open doorway, he found his uncle seated behind his desk. Samuel looked up as soon as he walked in. His uncle rose, coming around the desk to hug him and pat him on the back. "Carl, what are you doing here?" Considered tall at 6 feet, he still had to glance up at his uncle, who had a good 3 inches on him. Even though they both had the same green eyes and sharp cheekbones, he had red hair while his uncle's was dark brown with blonde highlights. And whereas Carl just turned 28, his uncle only looked about 28. The nature of their blood relationship was complicated. "Not that I'm not damn glad to see you," Samuel continued, "but it's late. Is Brenda all right?" Carl pulled away from his uncle and raked jittery hands through his short cropped hair. "Yeah, she's fine. She's home." "Come on, sit down," Samuel urged, closing the door and gesturing to one of the 2 chairs in the room. So far, so good. Carl took a seat, inhaling this time to calm his racing nerves. He should have known his uncle would be happy to see him. Now he felt guilty he hadn't done more to keep in touch. Samuel leaned against his desk, facing him. "Okay, I know something's wrong. What is it?" His uncle could read his emotions. "I'd forgotten about that. 2 years is a long time, Carl." They'd last seen each other on Carl's wedding day, after Carl's marriage. Samuel put distance between them, his uncle's way of trying to protect him, since Carl didn't want to tell his bride the truth about himself or Samuel. Samuel looked a little sad. "I didn't do this. I didn't want it to be this way. I know. I couldn't tell her. Just because I was against the marriage at first, because I thought you were both too young, does not mean I'm not happy you found love." Carl grinned. Practically everyone they knew, even the 85-year-old maintenance man in the building, would be too young for Samuel.
I understand, Samuel. It was because of my own fears and immaturity that you cut me loose. You did the right thing. True. And by staying out of your way, neither one of us would have to lie to your wife about the ugly side of my life. Carl nodded. I know, and I understand. Still do. You're here now, and I've missed you, man, Samuel said, crossing his arms over his chest. But I would also never allow Brenda to be anywhere near the danger I'm involved in. Carl's mouth curled up into a weak smile. First and foremost, Samuel protected those closest to him, which is what made this both difficult and easy. Okay, so what's going on? Samuel asked. Your depression is beating at me, and you've lost a little weight. Carl hung his head, then raised it to look his blood uncle in the eyes. After so long of having to hide his true feelings, he allowed his fears to surface. I lost my job as a broker about 8 months ago. But even before that, things were tight. We lost a lot of money in the stock market and have been living on savings. I'm facing foreclosure. Shit. Samuel dropped his hands to the desk. Why didn't you come to me sooner? He shrugged his shoulders. Brenda doesn't know. She thinks I'm out buying more wine for our cellar. God, man, I feel like such a failure. His damn pride, the reason why he hadn't gone to Samuel earlier. Shit, pride didn't pay bills. You are not a failure. Samuel leaned forward a little. I should have paid closer attention to you both. Okay, what's left on the note for your brownstone? Carl told him. Samuel moved back behind the desk and opened up the laptop. What's your checking account number? He took his bank card out of his wallet and passed it to him. I don't want a handout, Samuel. I will pay you back. Oh, no, you won't. Your family. I have more than enough for 10 lifetimes. Besides, if anything happens to me, it's all yours anyway. Thank you. One less thing to worry about. But regardless of what Samuel said, he had to find a way to pay his uncle back. He'd been wrong to allow Samuel to stay out of their lives. He could have approached the man before this happened. A knock on the closed door had Samuel glancing towards it. Come in. A tall, dark-skinned, heavily muscled man stepped into the room. Hey, sorry to bother you. Just wanted you to know class is over and I'm ready to roll whenever you are. Eric, this is my nephew, Carl. Hey, Carl, Eric said, stepping forward to shake Carl's hand. Carl noted he didn't bat an eye at the fact he appeared older than his uncle, which meant he knew Samuel's secret. Samuel tossed Eric a set of keys. Saddle up. I'll be with you in 5. Cool. Nice meeting you. Eric nodded, then left. I don't recognize him, Carl said. Yeah, he started not too long after you left. There are quite a few new members. Are you going out tonight? Carl asked, getting an idea. Samuel nodded. Yes, we've seen a pattern. Then I'm coming with you, he offered. His uncle smiled and shook his head. We're good. But you can use my emotions, Carl insisted. They're still running high, and I can focus on them. No, that's okay. Samuel, let me do this. He gripped the arms of the chair. I can help. Remember, I was trained by the best. His uncle paused, staring at him intently before grinning. Okay, last time. Carl released the breath he'd been holding and relaxed his hands. He owed his uncle so much and regretted not telling him about the baby. He couldn't. If Samuel knew Brenda was 10 weeks pregnant, Samuel Gloss would never let him put himself at risk, but he had to, his small way of making up with his uncle and paying him back. That's the first part of chapter 1, and then it goes into another section. This is also the book that I will be giving away. I will put a link for a free download to those of you who are attending the Zoom tonight. The link should go, Jennifer, do you have the link to put in the, do you want me to put it up?
I do not have the link, but if you would like to send it to me, I will post it with the video where I posted the Zoom link.
Okay, let me do that.
While we're doing that, those of you who would like to chat can go ahead and pop themselves back into the screen. Go ahead and let's leave the mutes on for right now, just until we get everybody situated and figure out how we want to do these Q&As. Okay, and we're gonna copy, whoops.
Did you get it?
I did get it, and I am about to go post it right now. So this is going to be in the Coastal Magic reading group, reading challenge group, right underneath where the link to the Zoom is. So you will need to be in the reading challenge group in order to access either one of those. But they are there for you once you have done that. And it's in. So there is that. That was super cool. I had not read that book yet. There's a couple of the people who are joining us tonight that have read that book already. I have not, but that sounds super cool. Gloria's raising her hand. I have read that.
I have read it. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of clues like right in your face, but at the same time, I wasn't paying attention to those clues. So as I'm reading, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. This is cool. And then I would get to the next part, and I'm like, this is cool. So I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, this is the first book. There are actually 3 of them out right now. And Wild Child, my urban fantasy, actually starts with the part of the 3rd book. It's not part of the Redemption series, but something happens. Oh, I'll tell you guys. I destroy Los Angeles, and
as you do.
Yeah, I do. Whoever, if you've read Angel Guardian, which is the 3rd book in the series, I destroyed Los Angeles. And in Wild Child, it starts with her running away because Los Angeles is being destroyed. So that's how Wild Child starts. And so I kind of tie them together a little bit. So, because I kept thinking, well, I got all this stuff going on, but other people are being affected by what's happening in this story. So I thought, well, maybe I should write a story about somebody that was affected by this, and so I did. That's kind of how Wild Child started. But the Redemption series is about my take on fallen angels. And for me, they're essentially emotional succubi. And there's a group of hunters who are aware of their existence, and they actively hunt them and kill them because as far as they know, they're all evil. But that's not necessarily true. There are some gray areas. And also there's a 3rd group out there, but I won't give them away. You're gonna have to read the book to figure out that 3rd group, but there's a 3rd group. Okay.
All right, so
somebody else had their hands raised.
I was gonna say we're gonna go ahead and stay muted, just so that we don't all talk on top of each other. But
Okay.
if you have a question or if you'd like to say something, by all means hop in there. Just keep yourselves muted until that time comes, so that we're not going over top of each other.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Did somebody have a question earlier?
I thought somebody had their hand raised.
There
right
you
there.
go.
Jody, did you have?
There we go. Got myself little tech challenged here. So, hi.
Hi.
I listened to this book on Audible.
Yes, it's on Audible.
And at first I was like, okay, so you're a new author to me. I'd never read any of your stuff before.
Okay.
And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And as I kept listening, it just kept sucking me in. And I'm like, it was fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
It was fabulous. And that whole redemption premise of what's really not bad and what's good, and do you have a soul and don't you have a soul? Man, it was, yeah.
Well, the whole question for me was, if you, in my version, the fallen angels, God ripped out their souls and condemned them to earth, and they had one chance at redemption and regaining their soul. But the question is, if you don't have but in order to do that, they have to fall in love. They have to love. And if you don't have a soul, the question is, if you don't have a soul, can you love?
if you have no emotion, if you don't have a soul and you have no emotions, can you love? But because I wrote them as also as emotional succubi, they wanted emotion. That's why they hunt. That's why the soulless hunted. They hunted for emotion. They wanted to fill that void, and as a result of that, they started to, for that, at least a period of time, they had emotions.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I would recommend it. It was really good. And I need to get to the book too.
Book two is Angel Hunter.
Book
That's Angel Hunter.
Okay.
I would like to know if you have, did you go to Los Angeles to research anything about that area, or is it just?
Oh, I used to live in California, and yes, I've been to Los Angeles a couple of times. Gotcha. But Angel Rising is actually in New York. Angel Hunter is in Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
So, and then third book, Angel Guardian, is also in Los Angeles. The fourth book will not be in Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, because you blowed it up. Have you lived in New York? Are you familiar with New York, or did you travel there?
I have not. I lived there one summer once, long time ago, with when I was in college, for about 3 weeks, and then came home. But I go to New York quite a bit. Well, I used to go to New York quite a bit, at least twice a year. So I know, know New York a little bit. And this particular building, it's a hotel condo, and that I have the lead character. She lives on the top floor in the penthouse, and it's right across from Central Park. So I know what the sight line would look like, and I describe it and stuff, and how well, it's kind of cool. I have somebody jumping off like I guess it's about 14 stories.
Goodness.
And she just walks off. If you've ever seen, what's that? It's that werewolf movie, Lycan. The Lycan movie.
Underworld?
Underworld. Thank you. God, I couldn't remember the name of it. Too many titles running around in my head. Underworld. There's a scene where Selena jumps off a building, and I'm like, hey, that's my gal. Oh my God. She jumps off this building, and she just walks away. Yeah.
There you go. Gal.
She jumps off the building in high heels and walks away.
Very cool. Just an FYI, for those of you who are using either a laptop or a desktop, when you are muted, if you hit your space bar, it will temporarily unmute you so you can talk, and then you don't have to fight with tapping your mutes and unmutes on and off all the time. So does anybody else have any questions?
I can't see if there are any questions on the Facebook.
I'm pulling up my secondary device to check that as we speak.
I meant to have put my phone here so I could check it too. And not
nope, I'm on it.
So I'm kind of curious. Thalia, am I saying that right? Thalia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Thalia.
Okay, badass. Badass woman jumping out of 14 stories in high heels. Like, did you have someone in mind for her? Or just?
I tend to like strong women. I know that, the prevailing format of most readers, and for most readers and authors, is to write a heroine that starts out, in denial and kind of builds to who she should be. But I don't really write like that. Sometimes my heroines can be flawed, but I don't want them running away from, although, no, I take it back, because in Wild Child, I do have her running away. But I didn't want her to be in denial. I wanted to create a character that was a fallen angel and badass, because at that point,
all the fallen angel books I've ever read was always about the guys. It's always the guys who are the fallen angels. And I wanted to write about a woman, and a Black woman at that, who was a fallen angel. And she was total badass. She was unapologetic, but she wasn't evil. She was just a survivor. She was just trying to survive. She was doing whatever she had to survive. I just liked the character. I thought she was really cool.
She had a great sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was fun all the way around.
She was fun, and I liked her interactions with Samuel. She's like, yeah, I don't need you, kind of thing. And,
yeah. I don't need you to take care of me. I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, there are some scenes in there where I cried. I cried because I'm writing it, and I'm, oh no. There are a couple of scenes when like she's walking away. I was like, oh, she's walking away. But I had to have her do that because, yeah, she had to grow. She definitely had to grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of mythology and gods and demons and angels in your LaVerne Thompson works. Is that a like a personal trope of yours? Is that not a trope, a theme of yours?
Most of my fantasies, they're across. It covers a wide spectrum. I mean, I've got mermen too, and Children of the Waves, but my mermen aren't like most other people's mermen in that my mermen don't have tails. I'm more like an Aquaman kind of, I prefer the no tail thing. So my mer people are just different. They have a different interior, and they can just live underwater, and they move faster than anybody else. But I have all kinds of shifters. I've got my Dragon Shifter series, Story of the Brethren. I have a werewolf series. I have, Wild Child it's a little bit of everything. They're mages, you name it, it's gonna appear in Wild Child in that cross. The first book is Wild Child, but the series is called Crossroads. And there are different dimensions. There are two Earths. There's Earth Primary, which is the Earth that we know, and then there's Earth Prime, which is a world where magic exists. And so all these creatures and everybody has some sort of abilities that they can do, be it shifters, or there are a lot of mages, there are teleporters, there are mind readers. They can draw power from the world. So it's not just religious. And then of course I have my Greek God series, the Lost Gods. So yeah, I guess I do have a couple of gods. I do have gods because now that I think about it, the Children of the Waves, they're demigods because they're sons of Poseidon. So yeah, okay, I do have a lot of mythical.
You're just in charge of all of the everythings. The whole everything.
I do have a lot of mythical stuff, but I will say that the Redemption series is essentially the book of Genesis. I will say that, and I haven't really. I'm starting to hint at it, but I twist it on its head because I don't want to give away all the characters. But if you read it, then you know I do have some biblical references in there, and it's not what you expect either.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Miss LaVerne, if we want to have time for Ursula, we're going to have to do that second reading.
Okay.
Well,
so
just before we do that, because we are on the LaVerne side, I know that some of you guys have read from LaVerne, and I know some of you guys have read from Ursula. So from the LaVerne side, what have you guys read from LaVerne?
Oh, the Glass King. That's a good one.
Madison's checking her device.
Somebody posted the Glass King. Yes, that's a cute one. I love that one too. That was just I did that for an anthology, and I can't remember the name of the anthology right off the top of my head right now. Oh, The Royal Court. That's right. And we had to write something about somebody royal. So I wrote about this man who had this kingdom, and it was a kingdom of glass, essentially. Sort of an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, and she goes down the rabbit hole. So that was the Glass King. I forgot about that.
That's
but
cool.
I've published over 40 books.
Why don't you remember all of the things, LaVerne?
And, you know, when I told somebody, I'm gonna have to check the name of the character. Then how do you not remember? I'm like, you have no idea. I messed up the names of my kids sometimes.
I knew I'd read Ursula Sinclair, and I had to look and see if I read anything by LaVerne, and I did, and I read two small ones. I read Come to Me and Hold On. I really liked Come to Me. I was just in a moment. I've been struggling with small books, and I read that one, and it read so quickly, and I really enjoyed the story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hold On is actually also on audio. Now, depending on when you read them, I actually redid both of them and made them a little longer. They went from short stories to novellas. But yes, those are, Hold On, just really quickly. I was at a really long traffic light one day, and I'm sitting there, and my mind just starts wandering, and I look up and I see this open apartment building, right? And suddenly I thought, well, hey, what if I was a dude and I saw somebody getting, attacked? And I'm like, oh, and I just rushed home. I sped home. I'm glad I didn't get pulled over, but I sped home, and I had I think the first 4 chapters done, and like that. It just,
it's nice when it works that way.
How that opening scene I got from sitting at a traffic light. Yeah, it's weird. Okay. Ursula Sinclair is my alter ego. Ursula's books, first of all, they're in first person. It's a different voice. The new adult books, there's some romantic suspense. I also write some romantic suspense under LaVerne, but not a lot. And those were actually very early in my career.
Excuse me, just 1 second. Let's go ahead and everybody take themselves back off their camera so that we have her full screen. There we go. In the spotlight, front and center. And I will see you momentarily.
Okay, so Ursula Sinclair writes new adult, primarily new adult, and romantic suspense. And some of the new adult is also romantic suspense. Now, this is the 3rd book in my Ballerina series. If you've read the first book, which by the way is The Ballerina and the Fighter, and it's free on any platform. For right now, it's free. I will give you warning that that may no longer be the case in a few months, but for right now it's free. And this is the 3rd book. Now with the Ballerina, you need to read the first 2 books in the Ballerina series because it's essentially book 1 and book 2. This book, however, you can read by itself. It can be read as a standalone, but I do talk about the couples that are in the Ballerina. They're also in here because it's their wedding. But it will be better reading if you read the Ballerina first, but if you haven't, you're okay. Now, the dancer, I don't know if you can see it, but on the Ballerina cover, that's my daughter. She used to be a classically trained ballerina, so I stuck her on the cover. And on the cover of this is my oldest daughter. She plays guitar, so I stuck her on this. I tend to write with new adult. I don't really go the college route. Most new adult authors tend to go the college route or grad school route, but not everyone has a chance to do that. And not everyone needs to do that because sometimes you have a talent. And for the Ballerina series, her talent was ballet. and she fell in love with an MMA fighter. With the dancer, he was her partner in the woman in the ballerina series, Ivy's partner. This is his story. And he meets a woman, a young woman who plays lead guitar in a rock band. How cool is that? I always think women should do anything a man could do, and I tend to write my female characters like that. Okay, the dancer, his past. The young boy ran through the woods for a long time, screaming for his mom or dad, but in truth, he'd lost his voice a while ago. His cries for help came out only in between sobs. Didn't matter anyway, no one answered him, and he saw not another living soul, not even an animal, but the wind rushed through the trees and he heard voices of things scurrying around him. Still, he ran, his voice hoarse, nothing but a whimper. He hurt all over. His arms and legs had long scratches on most of his exposed skin from running through the bushes. His green t-shirt and shorts were ripped in places and dirty. Moss covered him from his blonde head to sneakered feet because he'd fallen a few times. His stomach cramped in hunger and he couldn't stop his whimpers. Exhausted, he finally froze where he stood. His little body refused to go another step. His brain shut down. He stopped and rested beside a tree, his back against the bark as he curled up into a ball. The moon had risen and the stars in the sky were the only things breaking through the overwhelming dark. He glanced wildly around him, but all he saw were frightening shadows looming toward him. He didn't want to be scared anymore. He squeezed his eyes shut to keep the monsters at bay and prayed really hard, like his mother had taught him. Every time he heard a noise, he trembled, but he felt too tired to run anymore, too tired to move. Finally, blessedly, from sheer exhaustion and terror, the child fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 1, Dante. My fingers curled into the twisted sheets. I'd been suffocating from sheer terror. I took deep breaths before opening my eyes. It had been a long time since I'd had that vivid a dream. Years, in fact. Usually my dreams were about feelings of abandonment, loneliness, not quite so dark, so real. These weren't dreams, but memories, real nightmares from my past. Now I've had them 2 nights in a row. What the fuck? Thank God I didn't let Christy come home with me tonight. I shouldn't have let her stay with me last night, but I've been so damn lonely lately. I tried to make it clear to her there was nothing more between us other than 2 people scratching an itch. I didn't give a shit that she sometimes screwed other cast members when we were dating. Still, I scared the shit out of her when I woke up in the middle of the night screaming. When she asked me what was wrong, I lied, of course, and told her just a nightmare. And I couldn't even remember what it was about, not hardly. She and I shared the physical, not the emotional. These nightmares came at a place deep inside of me, something I shared with no one. I thought I conquered this fear a long time ago, that and the psychiatrist bill said I had. In truth, I'd conquered it on my own, this memory of the haunted woods and a lost little boy. Well, partially on my own. I had a little help from my dad and a friend who gave me the tools to deal with it. I am a man now, and I had overcome this. I'd done it by learning all about the outdoors, so I thought I had put this particular terror behind me. Fuck. Even Ivy didn't know. Before I decided to dance professionally, I also thought about being a forest ranger. By the time I turned 18, I'd spent weeks backpacking the Appalachian Trail, most of it by myself. I'd become an accomplished hiker. I'd spent almost as much time backpacking as I did dancing. The wilderness no longer held horrors for me, but still, I didn't fully enjoy living in an urban city like New York alone. Perhaps I just needed another roommate. I'd always had one. Then again, I also hadn't been backpacking for a couple of years now. Pussy day hikes, but not the serious stuff I'd done before. No time really. Perhaps it's time for me to get back to nature, a reminder to myself I had control. I was no longer that little lost boy in the woods, but this morning I had a plane to catch, and then tomorrow a wedding to attend, maybe afterward. The phone rang and I picked it up. Hello? Your ass had better make it here on time. Well, hello the fuck to you too. It was Maze, but before he could respond, I heard the sounds of someone whispering to him to be nice. I grinned. Yeah, making sure you and Vin will be here on time. Maze's better half said into the phone. Ivy. My best friend was getting married tomorrow afternoon to a guy she'd known for years. Lucky bastard. Maze turned out to be all right, but only because of the way he put Ivy first, last, and always. Still, make no mistake, Ivy's soon-to-be hubster was a dangerous son of a bitch, the kind you wanted on your side. Didn't matter. If he ever hurt Ivy, I would find a way to hurt him. Kind of hard, though, to be pissed at the guy, since in the last few months we'd become close friends. He even made me one of his groomsmen. You know I'll be there, babe. We'll send the car for you. That's why I'm calling. Text me the flight info. We can take a cab. No worries, I told her. Text her the damn information. Otherwise, if anything happens, I will not hear the end of it, Maze grumbled. I laughed and hung up on him, but I dutifully forwarded the flight information to Ivy's phone. Time to get this party started. I swung my legs off the bed and sat up, but my head hurt a little from the his and hers bridal shower last night. Me and Vin, a friend Maze had introduced me to, tried to get Maze to put his foot down and say he didn't need a fucking bridal shower. That was for the bride, but Maze wasn't interested because it was what Ivy wanted. What a wuss. If that's what love reduced you to, I wasn't interested, especially given the video I'm sure Vin put up for anyone with internet access to see. Maze wearing a hat made of bows from all the gifts they'd gotten. But since Ivy was the one putting it on his head, damned if the dude didn't wear it with a smile. By the time I checked last night, it had over 10,000 views. I snorted and stood up carefully. My head felt a little better. I knew a shower would help, and the thought of Maze in that hat cheered me up. Although I might have done the same for Ivy. Water under the bridge, and in the end, she made the right decision. Still, Vin and I teased Maze about being pussy whipped all night long. Good times. Maze's best man and I planned a bachelor party for tonight that he would not be allowed to get out of. And I know Ivy's maid of honor, Christy, planned something for her too. I'd helped her set it up. We'd all be in the same club, just different rooms. I couldn't wait to see the look on both their faces when the strippers hopped out of their respective cakes in different rooms, all in good fun. I know Ivy was fine with the plans as long as no one got seriously wasted. She would have a fit if I got Maze drunk the night before his wedding. At least the wedding was scheduled for 3 tomorrow afternoon. Everyone could sleep in. The wedding would be on the beach on Biscayne Bay, kind of small, maybe about 100 people, just like the couple wanted it. I went into the bathroom and hit the shower. Afterward, I changed into faded black jeans, a gray t-shirt, and black loafers. I had my suit for the ceremony and all the other stuff already packed up. I would meet Vin at the airport and we'd fly together to Miami later this morning and then grab a cab to the resort. Maze and Ivy should have left earlier on a chartered plane. I wondered if they'd call me from the plane. My driver dropped me off at the airport. Maybe in a few days after I got back, I might take a mini vacation, perhaps to Virginia, fly into Dulles, rent a car, head to the Blue Ridge Mountains for a nice little weekend hike. Nothing like getting back to nature to clear these damn nightmares from my head. I conquered them before and I'll do it again. I pulled out my phone to make sure I had my boarding pass on there and the hotel info. Most of the wedding party would stay in Biscayne Bay or Miami for a few days, but the couple wasn't staying in the hotel with everyone else. After the reception, the new Mr. and Mrs. Chang would head to a private home on the beach for the next 2 weeks. I was sure no one would see them the entire time. I still felt a little twinge over Ivy, but I also knew she was never for me. Hey, man. I turned at the sound of the booming voice to see Vin, Maze's best friend, hurrying towards me. I grinned and we fist bumped. Hey, I thought you were going to miss the flight, he chuckled. Yeah, I had to wait on my friend and date for the wedding. Vin moved aside and he raised his hand to gesture to someone behind him. Then I saw her. Holy fuck. Okay, I'm checking the time, so I have to stop. All right, so as you can see, Ursula Sinclair, it's new adult and it's a lot grittier. And yeah.
Yeah.
Protagonists are between the ages of 18 to 25, and this is how they speak. If you are around certain types, there's a lot of F-bombs in the ballerina because Maze drops a lot of F-bombs. He's a fighter. it's a dancer's world. And if you've been around dancers, oh, they're not as, I mean, they may look beautiful while they're on stage, but when they're backstage, they sound like sailors. I know, I've been backstage.
If you would, those of us who are in the Zoom, if you want to show yourselves for the discussion, you are welcome to do so. Sorry to interrupt, LaVerne. I just want to make sure everybody knows they can pop back up again.
So this is the story of, this is Dante's story, and it starts with Maze and Ivy's wedding. Those of you who read The Ballerina.
I read the Ballerina and the Fighter, and I loved it.
Oh,
I didn't read the blurb on the back, which I rarely do. I just pick up a book and start reading. And I didn't realize there was like an emotional part coming. I would have had I read that. Full out bawling in the bed at the beginning of that book. Just like, what did I pick up? This was supposed to be a little, I thought, a sweet contemporary romance. It was fantastic, though. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. My daughter danced, she was a classically trained ballerina, and she danced for 15 years. And so I know that world very well. I went to all the rehearsals, all the recitals. She was part of the ABA summer program in Detroit. And when she decided she did not want to continue to become a professional ballerina, I cried. She wanted to be a lawyer instead. To this day. Anyway, but I always wanted to write a story about a ballerina, but I didn't really know, it didn't really fit into anything that, that I was aware of. And then I discovered the new adult genre, and I started reading all these books, and I thought, and the light bulb went off. This is the genre, this 18 to 25, because, and so that's how I wrote The Ballerina and the Fighter. And there is a scene in The Ballerina where Ivy gets hurt, and that's actually something that happened. And I had my daughter actually reread that part to make sure I got it right, because that did happen.
Do we get, because I haven't looked into the second book, but it is on my list to get to, do we get to see more of Maze and, what he was doing when he was away from her?
So did you read the second book, Maze?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
No, I haven't gotten to that yet.
If you cried during the first book, you will cry.
Oh, no.
That's all I'm going to say. And yes, you will find out, you will find out a lot more about Maze's background and his adopted father, Joe's background, and his uncle. So yeah, it all comes together, and you will cry. So I'm letting you know now. There will be tears. If you don't cry, let me know, because I did something wrong.
Did you ever have a
question? There's a question that says, are you a plotter, and are character boards written up ahead of time or on the spot?
I'm a pantser. I'll get an idea and then I just start writing. I don't really do outlines except to, if there are multiple characters, I will have their names and their characteristics so I can keep, did he have green eyes or was that blue? So that's what I do. Sometimes I have a specific model or actor in mind, and I will use them. A lot of my covers are actually custom covers, and I actually know most of these models, and I've chosen them very specifically because sometimes I will get an idea from a look. My Zeus story, okay, the model on the cover for Zeus, his name is Anthony. And I first saw him in, in one of those Facebook groups, they're posting pictures of people, and I thought, oh my God, Zeus! And that story just started spinning in my head. And I contacted him and I said, I want to put you on my cover because you're my Zeus. So I don't really do although I should say I haven't done it. For the first time with my Crossroads series, I kind of have a diary, a journal, where I've got plot points written down because the world is so complicated. And it's two worlds that I'm creating that exist side by side, and I got to explain them and how they differ. One is Earth primary and one is Earth prime. And in every book, I have to kind of go back and explain it to you again so you remember. Primary is a normal Earth. Prime is an Earth where instead of 7 continents, there are 5, and they're really like islands, and magic exists there. So for that, that's the first time I actually started keeping a journal of the characters, because there's so many characters. Oh my God. And they're not even main characters, but to make the world richer, and to bring it to life, I needed to do that because I kept inventing characters. I'm like, wait, where did they come from? So I started writing stuff down. So for that one, I am kind of doing a little more plotting with that. But for the others, like Angel Rising, there was a snowstorm the year that I wrote this, or maybe the year before I wrote it. And so I was stuck in the house for 5 days, and I'm sitting there watching the snowfall, and I'm seeing angel feathers, and I'm like, And that's where that came from. Okay. And if you look at the cover, oh, by the way, Fiona J does most of my covers. Love, love, love her work. Actually, all of these covers that I'm showing you tonight, she's done. She's done probably 95% of my fantasy covers. And she's also done some of my new adult covers, but you'll see like little feathers.
That's adorable.
That is adorable. I love that it started from a snowstorm.
Yes, it was a snowstorm.
I feel like we're losing a little bit of the chat. So if you guys want to unmute yourselves, you guys know how to do, we've done this enough times. Just try not to talk over each other, but at least this way we'll have a little bit of back and forth.
It's awkward to unmute yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand my students all the more.
Did anybody have a question? Oh, it was Dolly-Ann. Because you read The Ballerina.
I read Angel Rising,
Oh,
and quite a few people have read The Ballerina, the first in the Ballerina and the Fighter. Quite a few people have read that one.
It's funny because at the end of it, somebody said they thought it was over. And then I said, no. It's funny because I have a review where someone said that they didn't like the cliffhanger, that it ended on a cliffhanger. And then somebody else said, no, it wasn't. And I love the way it ended because it ended with them together and happy. And Maze got what he wanted. He was out of the triad. So, and I thought that was interesting that one reader thought that it ended on a cliffhanger and another reader didn't think that it ended on a cliffhanger. So I said, there is a part 2, there is a second book. So I didn't really think it ended on a cliffhanger. If anybody's read Wild Child or wants to read Wild Child ends on a cliffhanger. And I warned people in the blurb, this book ends on a cliffhanger. So, you decide if you want to read it or not. If you want to wait until the second book comes out.
Thank you for the heads up, because I think they should all have that. Or if the series isn't out yet, the next book doesn't come out for a whole year later, I need that on the cover or on the back somewhere, so I know I need to wait.
Well, the second book is actually finished, and I'm going through it before I send it to my beta readers. So the second book is Wildfire, and it's done. I'm about halfway through it. And then I'm hoping next week to send it out to my beta readers, get that back and fix it up, and then send it on to my my editor. But Wildfire, I should have it up for pre-order this month. And the third book, I've also started, but I don't want to think about when that will be.
Let's not.
One book at a time. But I am trying to release the second and third book in this series, and there will only be 3 books in the series. So I'm trying to release them, both of them, this year. So they'll both be released this year. And I also want to release the 4th book in the Redemption series this year. So I'm going to be busy.
Yes.
We have a comment about audiobooks. Do you have any audiobooks down the pike?
Yeah, I've got 5 of my books are in audiobooks. This is an audiobook, Angel Rising, Hold On. I have a sci-fi book under Ursula Sinclair called Shadow Wars, Homebound. That is also in audiobook. I will warn you, the narrator really got into the story. He really got into the mood while he was doing the narration. So very interesting. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Hold On is in narrate. Oh, the Ballerina series, The Ballerina and the Fighter, that's also in audio.
And that was great in audio.
And as is Maze. Those 2 are also in audio. And and I'm also working on Vin's book, the 4th and final book in the Ballerina series. Although I probably shouldn't say that, because I've actually been thinking about writing about the kids, maybe 20 years later or something, we'll see. But
Those are always fun.
I'm also writing the 4th book. And for those of you who've read The Ballerina, or read Maze rather, Vin is Maze's best friend, and Vin is bisexual. And so the 4th book will talk about his bisexuality, but he will end up with a woman because he's just looking for that person to love him. Mm-hmm. I know I kind of teased you a little bit with Dante, thinking, having you guys think that he was bisexual, but he wasn't. I did that on purpose. But Vin is bisexual, and so I'm going to tackle that a little bit. I had one person tell me, well, is he gay? I'm like, no, he's not gay. He's an equal opportunity person. Loves who he loves. And so that's how I'm writing him. That's how I've written him so far, and that's how he will continue to be. But that will also bring you to tears. Just most of my new adult work will put you in tears. Oh, this was another one I was contemplating reading. This is a favorite of mine. It's The Prison Guard's Son. I was in again, one of these forums, and I started chatting with this guy he used to be a prison guard. And I thought, oh, you must have some stories. And he did. And I'm like, wait a second. So this particular story is something that he told me about that happened about that he said that surprisingly, the women, if an inmate, if a guard got one of the inmates pregnant, that the other guard would beat the shit out of him because it gets all of them into trouble. Not that it doesn't happen, but there are consequences. I kind of thought that was interesting. So anyway, I wrote the story about The Prison Guard's Son.
Sounds like you get a lot of really good ideas from a lot of really random places.
Yes, like I said, sitting at a traffic light, watching the snow fall. I have one of my best friends said, where do you get all your ideas from? I said, well, I look at the world differently. Mm-hmm. I pointed out, we were outside, and I pointed out the sky was overcast, clouds were gray. So I pointed the clouds out to her. I said, what do you see? She said, I see gray clouds. It looks like it's going to rain. I said, I see a city in those clouds. Mm-hmm. I see a world beyond those clouds. I started telling her a story about what was in the clouds, and she just looked at me and shook her head.
But without a world without people like that, we wouldn't have great stories because not everybody does look. Some people just see clouds.
Yeah.
Well, and she's one of those people. And I told her, I said, there's nothing wrong with that because, you know, we need people like you too. She sells real estate. So we need, you know, look, this world needs everybody,
Yep.
right? We need it all.
If we all did the same thing, it would be very boring.
Boring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to stand it, which is probably why I have a split personality and I write under two.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the Shadow Wars Homebound,
Yes.
is that the only book in that series? I mean, I don't see anything else on
Yeah,
it.
that's the only book in that series, and you can read it as a standalone. I never finished that series because it didn't really necessarily start out as a series, which is why I ended it. If you read it, it ends with a happily ever after. Everything's tied up. I don't really leave any cliffhangers. But that being said, I did start the second book.
Okay.
That will be part of Shadow Wars. They will all be called Shadow Wars and then something else. But yes, I did start the second book, and it's the princess story.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I noticed it's in Kindle Unlimited, but then you have it on Audible, so we can listen and read at the same time if we want to.
But like I said, just you listen to the narrator. You can listen to a sample of the narrator, and if you're okay with his voice, then get it, because I have had complaints about his voice. Some people thought it was too sexy, because it's a sci-fi romance. And
Too sexy.
But
That's not a
What is
complaint we
that?
get very often.
some people,
No.
some people think that there was too much sex, not enough science. It's not a science fiction. It's a sci-fi romance. So, and it's new adult. So the protagonists, I think they're only like 22 years old. So there's a lot of sex. I mean, so 22
I need to listen to this guy now.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were 22.
What's the name of this book on Audible?
It's called, it's Shadow Wars Homebound.
Okay. I'll be listening to that in a little bit.
That's the first time
he gets into it.
Just a quick time check for you, Miss LaVerne. We are at about a little over an hour, so you can do what you would like, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware.
I'm good. Does anybody else have any more questions for me?
We have a question that wants to know, do you have a favorite book that you've written?
You know, I always get asked this, and every time I get asked it, I probably change the answer, but I would have to say Dragon's Heart, Story of the Brethren is one of my favorites because I started writing that book. It has a long history. Before I was ever published, I entered that book in a writing competition and it won. And what it won was one of the editors at Kensington was supposed to give it a read. Unfortunately, that particular editor sat on it, and then, you know, she contacted me. She was going to get to it. She had started reading it, and she liked it and everything, and then she died.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I went to a conference, and I met another editor who had actually taken over her stuff, and I talked to her, and she said they'd gotten rid of everything to send it back to her, and I did. And 2 months later, she was fired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so after that, I put that book away. I did not want to touch it. I left it alone for years. And then in 2012, when self-publishing started taking off and Amazon started really taking off and all that, I had friends who were self-publishing, and they said I should start self-publishing. So I said, really? And they said, yes. Because I was, at the time I was under contract with 5 different publishing houses. And they were all aware of this book and they all wanted it, but I wasn't giving it to anybody at that point. So that was the first book I ever self-published. So it has a lot of meaning. It's a dragon shifter stories. I cut my eye teeth on books about dragons. I don't know if anybody reads the Dragons of Pern series, Anne McCarthy.
I have not.
Oh,
But I know they're crazy popular.
oh
It's
my
been
God.
decades.
When I cut my eye teeth on that story, but I kept waiting for somebody to turn into a dragon. I didn't want to ride a dragon. I didn't want to be a friend of a dragon. I wanted to be the dragon. So that's how that story came about. My dragon shifters.
I love dragon shifters.
Me too, right?
They make
I
me
only-
smile.
I only have 2 books in that series, but there will be a 3rd one.
Very cool.
I think I've got, right now, I got 8 books that I want to release this year.
That's a lot.
That's ambitious.
I can do it. I'm part of a writing sprint group, and every Saturday we spend the whole day pretty much from like 10 to 5 or 10 to 6. And we write. We write for an hour,
Nice.
take a break. And in one day, I've been able to write 12,000 words. So yeah, I can do it. So that's
That's
how
a
I plan
lot.
on doing it. That's how I plan on.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know, when you're focused and you're in the zone,
Right.
it works.
Yeah,
It really
it does. I've seen it work. Well, I've checked the comments on the video on the Facebook, and we've hit everything that's been asked. So we're good
Okay, good.
there.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, you have the link, so you can
Mhm.
download a free copy of Angel Rising, and you do not have to. You don't have to sign up for my newsletter. You can. It's an option, but you do not have to. It's a real free download. And please, if you enjoy something, leave a review.
Yeah.
It's much appreciated.
All of our reading challenge readers are in the habit of making sure they leave reviews for things. So
That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And look out for, if you haven't read Wild Child, I would recommend this. And the second one, like I said, the second one is finished and it will be up for pre-order this month. It will be wide. And the third one will be out this year also. So it'll be a complete series out before the end of the year.
nice.
You want to try it. And like I said, that's urban fantasy. And the first book is on Earth Primary, second book is on Earth Prime, and the third book is back to Earth Primary. But I am changing Earth Primary because stuff's been happening.
Dun, dun, dun.
But remember, it started with me destroying Los Angeles. So
That's what I was just going to say. It's a little bit like when you destroyed Los Angeles.
Now we're taking over planets.
Yep.
Little baby steps.
All right, my dear. Well, thank all of you for participating.
thank you.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for talking with us.
for chatting and sharing
Yeah.
stories.
This was really good.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna have.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try to empty everybody out here. So if everybody wants to go ahead and clear themselves out, and then we will close out the live.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Darlene.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye, everyone. Have a good
Hang on
evening.
just a second, LaVerne, before you go. Let's clear everybody else out, and then that way we can close out with just you on screen. We'll
Okay.
stop our recording there. Stop recording.